Hey everyone, Josh here. So the cold weather's here, or it's going to be here shortly. So you're eyeing up these diesel heaters, these Chinese diesel heaters, and you see the 2 kilowatt ones, which you think are great, but 5 kilowatts going to be better, or maybe they send you a 5 kilowatt by mistake, or because they don't have 2 kilowatts. You install it, and then you catch on that the thermostat isn't actually a thermostat. So what happens is when these hit your target temperature, it's just going to go into low mode, which in my trailer here, it's just going to keep climbing, especially on those mild winter days when it's about -5 or so. It can be 20, 30. I came in here one day and it was 40 degrees Celsius in here, so you're just wasting fuel and just making it overly hot. So I want to install a true thermostat where it's actually going to shut off. So we've got multiple ways to do this, so we're going to cover off 2 ways that there's lots of documentation on it, and another 2 ways that I think are going to work even better yet. So the most obvious one, if you've done a little bit of research on these, are going to be the Mr. Jones afterburner. So I believe it replaces your controller itself, but the issue with that is the compatibility. So you have to take your controller, take it apart, take this lid off, and then inside of here is your motherboard. So they're only compatible with certain motherboards, which this 3-fan one is a fairly basic model. It's a Vevor, so it's kind of the bottom of the line, and this one isn't compatible. So to make it compatible, you have to buy a new motherboard and a new switch. So you're $30, $40, $50 on AliExpress if they send you the right one, and then you're going to be another $100, $150 for the afterburner. So it's kind of defeating the purpose of a cheap heater. So the next option is using a household thermostat. So I seen a video where the guy already did 2 videos. So the first revision, he's placed the household thermostat into the remote, and then the second revision, he spliced it into the controller itself. So in that video, he had it in a cabin, which I assume is well insulated, and I bet it works really good if you have good insulation. The issue I see with it is the temperature swing. So basically the command on and the command off. I don't have insulation in here, and I just want to keep it above freezing. So my in-house, my thermostat, say you've got the temperature set at 22 degrees Celsius, it's going to kick on at 21 and kick off at 23, say. So you've got that 2 degrees Celsius temperature swing, and I think this thing's going to constantly get stuck in a cycling on, cycling off. The other thing is the power draw that it's going to take. So I did a little bit of math here. So the glow plug cycle, it takes 2.5 minutes, which it draws 9 amps. And then it goes to full tilt for 4.5 minutes to get that combustion temperature up to where it needs to be. So that drew 3 amps. Idle, I just ran it for 3 minutes at 0.8 amps. So that's just the pump and the fan. When you go to shut it down, the glow plugs come back, or a glow plug comes back on again for 1.5 minutes at 7.5 amps. And then for 3.5 minutes, just runs the fan to cool down the controller inside. So you can see all the amp hours that it takes. I've got a fairly decent battery pack. It's about 175 amp hours. It's lead acid battery, so they say about half of that, or like 50% discharge. So that's about 85 amp hours, and then I gave myself about 10 amp hours difference. So really, so if it's on and off, cycles 15 minutes on, 15 minutes off, I'd get 42 hours out of it. But if it's on consistently, you get 92 hours. So depending on how big of your battery pack is and what you're going to be doing with it, you want it to cycle on and off not very frequently, or else it's going to consistently be drawing these big amperages. So the 2 options that I think they're going to work the best, at least in my situation, the very best one is going to be the Burick Thermostat. So that's on order. I'm just waiting for it to get shipped here to Canada. So basically what that does, it copies the signal from your remote here, and then you can set a bunch of settings and stuff like that. So I think it's going to work very great. No modifications. You just make sure it syncs to your remote, and then it's going to send the signal to your controller and tell it what to do. But while I'm waiting for that to show up, I bought 2 of these W1209 temperature relays for a different project, but I'm going to use it as a thermostat for right now. So basically you can tell it to, you've got power and ground, and then you let your signal go through here. So you can have it so it's going to let the power go through at a certain temperature and below, or a certain temperature and above. So we're going to have one saying turn on at 4 degrees Celsius. And this one we're going to say turn off at 14 degrees Celsius. So we have a nice big swing so it can do its thing. So we're going to get this wired up here and get this set up correctly. So we got two ways that you can do this. You can either solder it into your remote, or you can take your display apart and we're going to solder it to the on and off button. Okay, so these things are really easy to hook up. You got your power and ground to them. So then as far as setting them up, so this is going to be my shut off one. So if I hold this one here, you can see I have it set to 24.5. And if you sit and hold, it's going to say POC. So that's cooling. So as soon as it sees 24.5 or higher, it's going to allow power through the relay, the KO to KO1. So if I sit here and hold this, and it reaches at 24.5, that little LED should kick on. Got a little bit of delay here. There. So that's going to be telling it to shut off is the plan. This one over here, I've got it set to POH. And if I just click it quick, so it's set to 20 degrees. So if I grab some contact cleaner, that relay should kick on here shortly. So that's going to be telling it to turn on. So up next, we're going to get into this controller because we need the wires to go through there. So before we get to that, I should just say how to get it to the POH or POC. So it's set to POC originally. So sit and hold POH. You hit the next one over. It's going to go to C or H. So that's H, that one's C. So next up, so we got to get into this controller. So we're not cutting power to the controller. We're not cutting power to the box, because the issue is you need to have the shutdown glow plug and you need that fan, or else you're going to cook your motherboard inside of here. So what we need to do is we need to get power to the on and off button here. Okay, so this display comes apart pretty easy. You've got the face of it all. It's just a big sticker. So you peel it off, and then this face would be right here with 4 tiny little screws in each corner. And that'll pop off. So the issue with this, we got 3 wires. So the power and ground are actually, this is a 5-volt circuit, and then the blue will be the communication to the motherboard inside of there. So with it being a 5-volt circuit, that makes it a little bit more interesting, but there's a quick and easy way around that. So I've got this one wire soldered onto the top outside pole. This is a 4-pole button. And again, as a reminder, that will be our on button. So then if I take the other side of this wire and just touch it to the bottom side, it turns on. You can also touch it again there. That's going to turn off. So what we're going to do is we're going to run this wire, we're going to double it and run it to the one side on each of these controllers, and then the other side of the controllers, both of them are going to get ran back, and I'm going to solder on another wire on the bottom inside pole here. So then you got to open up this case a little bit with a die grinder, and obviously a little bit of soldering, but those fine pen tip soldering irons work pretty good for this. All right, so we got this all wired up here now. It's definitely an interesting setup. So you can tell the temperature sensors are all 21, 19.7, 20.3, so they're all pretty close. You can put correction values in for these to get them reading 100% the same, but I'm not going to get too concerned about that. I'm just going to do a simplified drawing because it kind of gets a little messy in here with the double loops and stuff. Okay, so W1209, W1209, heater control. So 12 volt power went to the second one in, 12 volt ground, first one in. The top outside leg from the on switch Doesn't matter which one it went to, but one there, one there. And then the inside bottom one, same kind of deal. One there, one there. So this inside bottom leg is a bit hard. You gotta make sure you solder just to that leg and you don't get solder flowed over to this one, or else it's gonna constantly trying to turn on and off. But anyways, we're gonna give this a try here now. I'm gonna spray this sensor here, because this is my on. I think it's got a 1 degree or maybe 1.5 degree room for air, which you can change. There's a book on these on how to change it, but so while that LED is lit up, that's going to be telling it to turn on. So these sensors, they don't change very quick. And it's never going to be that aggressive of a change. Like, that's dropped 5 degrees in 2 seconds, so. I'll let it come up a little bit warmer yet. So that's gonna stay on. I'm gonna let this heater do its thing, and then I'm gonna come back with a heat gun and, or maybe my fingers, and that'll get that one to shut off. Okay, so we got it sitting here running away. It's at, oh yeah, 24.5 or so. So I think it's 1.5 degrees. I've got it set right now before it'll actually command it off, but we'll see if we can catch it here on camera. Just like that. Man, it gets hot sitting right here. Whew. But so that's going to keep sending 12 volts to it until it cools back down. Or not 12 volts, but it's going to keep sending the 5 volt signal to that button. But it's not going to flick to on until it sees an interrupt. So it works out fine that way. So it needs to drop down cold enough before this one's going to send power, and then this one will be shut off way before that. So this should be a nice, quick and cheap way of having an actual thermostat. Okay, so I opened the door to help things cool down a little bit. So you can see that's still sending the power to it, but it hasn't seen the interrupt because it's still sending power to it. When it hits 24.5, that LED will go out. That's going to say it's not sending power to it anymore. There. So maybe I'll let it cool down for a minute. I'll make sure it kicks back on again. Okay, so the one on the right will be the one that kicks it on. So it's set to 20. So I think 18.5 will be when it tells it to kick on. So it's cooling down. I might just speed it up just a bit here. We're 18 degrees. Back on it goes. Okay, and just for proof, to prove that it's not going to kick it on even after the fact, so it's off right now. So I changed it down so that it's going to kick off at 14 degrees. And, oops. Kick on at 4 degrees. So that's going to keep sending power to it. And like, I can't turn it on right now because it's still sending constant power down to it. So one thing you're going to want to think about before you set this up is if you have power gets disrupted to it or something like that. My kick off is 14.5 degrees or 14 degrees. So say I cut power to it and I turn power back on, my cut off is going to be telling it to turn on, and then it's never going to shut off because it's already above the threshold and it's going to keep climbing. So you're gonna need to make sure you're within your threshold between these two, and make sure that they're actually doing what they're supposed to be doing. So that's kind of the downside doing this setup versus if you get the Burick one. It's going to tell it what to do, and you're not going to have to worry about messing around with the wires, soldering it, and then getting out of the range, and then it just commanding to keep getting hotter and hotter. So, but other than that, it's a really cheap fix. Like, that's $15 for both these controllers and a little bit of wiring and an hour of your time. So it's definitely worth it if you got one of these heaters. But anyways, that's gonna be the end of that. Just stay tuned. I should have the Burick controller, I'm hoping, in the next week or two, and then we'll remove this and we'll try that one out.